Hello and welcome to the Federal. Today I have with me Mr. Ravishankar Mantha, who is the CEO of Agri-Risk Data Analytics and will shed light on the centre's recent move to ban wheat exports. So, Mr. Mantha, how do you view the government's decision to ban wheat export?
Firstly, it's not a, you got to see, if you see the circular, what they have done is they've been pretty specific in terms of under what circumstances can the wheat be exported. So it's not a ban kind of a thing. It's just that contract to contract basis, case by case basis, country by country basis, and the need basis, the export will be allowed. And that's what is happening today. For example, you've got Egypt, which is already picking up probably 500,000 ton, which is what has been consigned. And then there was one more clarification which has come today, which says that all the contracts or all the trucks which have gone for verification before the May 13th, all those trucks and consignment will also be allowed. So it's not a complete ban. It's just that the government is being pretty cautious because of various reasons. One amongst them is also the issue of the way there have been a lot of issue in terms of LCs, etc., in various other commodities that we had. And of course, the food inflation, we need to contain ourselves. So overall, I think it's a pretty good, well-planned and well-balanced strategy. But yeah, there are some hiccups. I guess that's what happens. We need to iron that out.
All right, but many observers are saying that this is a knee-jerk reaction move on wheat exports, and this will damage the country's reputation as a credible exporter and harm the welfare of farmers. So what do you think about that?
So I think one way I would say it's a fantastic, I'll tell you, if you look at the way today, like I said, firstly, it's not a complete ban. There's no ban on it. It's not a ban kind of a thing. And secondly, our move has pushed the global wheat prices by almost about 8 to 10%, which is fantastic. So when you're trying to negotiate prices with the exporter, right, or the whosoever is the importing country, you're negotiating at a higher price. So your per ton realization is increasing effectively, which is fantastic. So you continue to export and you continue to get a better realization. And at the same time, you're also trying to contain the inflation. For example, today the domestic prices have almost dropped by almost about 10%. So it's a win-win situation right now across. It looks knee-jerk, but I'm sure there's a lot of depth that has gone into it because the government is very open to the whole idea of exporting. They want to be potentially with a food basket, which we have it. But yeah, we got to be cautious. Ultimately, we also need to manage our own domestic demand and supply situation. So given the overall equation that you had in front of you, for example, Indonesia has banned exporting of palm oil overnight. Right? So it is not that Indonesia becomes no country to go to. No, I don't think so. That's the way, or that's the connotation that the world deciphers today in terms of if a country is not willing to export. It doesn't make sense. If my domestic inflation is not contained, I cannot feed the world. I have to manage that first. So I think that's perfectly all right. It's a normal practice. It has not happened first time. We are not the only country. Like I said, I've got live example. Before us, Indonesia has done it. So there's no big deal about it.
Yes, but speaking of inflation, do you think the center is falling into the trap of protectionism to check rising inflation?
No, I think it's important to check prices. It's important to keep the inflationary trend under the control, and also it also is important to contain the speculative aspirations, which has been one of the biggest issue. I mean, of course, we believe in open market, but again, there are many issues and challenges because our market is not as open as we talk about. It's as opaque as it can be. Right? It's not like a smooth functioning 100% market. There are many bottlenecks and glitches. So I think it's a great thing to contain your domestic prices, which is very important because if your Aam Aadmi is not able to get the kind of at a reasonable price, then the whole country is going to be on fire. So it's very important to contain that, and that's the right decision that's been taken.
Okay, if we were to come to farm laws, the withdrawn farm laws were justified by saying that it was needed to give farmers a better price for their products and enhance production. So continuing exports would give farmers a good deal. So why this ban now? Was withdrawing of farm laws a bad idea eventually?
Drawing of the farm laws have got a very different perspective, right? So, and the reason for that is much beyond the withdrawal reason or the entire fiasco it's different. It went into a very different tangent. See, the underlying was never, for example, today, farmers in Punjab are protesting against their own government, right? These are the same farmers who were sitting in Delhi and protesting. So it goes to show that the entire farm law story was a very different ballgame. It is only name of farm, but underlying was very different. So I don't think so. Deserves any comment or mention because it's quite obvious. And so the point is in terms of like I said again, let me repeat, there is no ban on export from the country at this point in time. Yeah, we'll continue to export on a case-by-case basis. So the realization for the farmer is going to continue to be much higher. And at the same time, we'll also be able to maintain our buffer stocks. So we are balancing the entire story by looking at each and every angle, which is very important at a macro level and a micro level. So the farmer's income, farmer's realization is on a higher side. There is absolutely no debate on that. And given the current scenario, even farmers are holding good amount of stock, which is fantastic. Thanks to the government's initiative of creating micro storage facilities. So that's been coming into use today. So many of the farmers are holding it themselves. So I think the farmers have become much smarter. And they realize they're seeing the way the prices are going, the global scenario, etc. So in our view, I think it's a win-win for all.
So my last question to you, Mr. Mantha, is it's reportedly said that the current wheat export ban has also reflects a consumer bias in India's trade policies, a consumer bias that indirectly is against farmers. When farmers are getting a price for wheat in the open market that is 10% higher than the minimum support price, why is the government not letting them take the benefit of improved market conditions? Should not the government be looking to help farmers increase their income?
So, yeah, it's always a double-edged sword for the government to maintain price line and also at the same time give a reasonable return under the MSP program. So that's where the market play comes. So I think in an ideal situation, we are kind of, it's like you're caught between the two, right? So in an ideal situation, you would not have an MSP kind of a program. It's not a reserved or a fixed price. Doesn't exist in a global scenario, right? You have an open market, people can buy and sell, and whatever realization you get that. But unfortunately, we have to manage both sides. We got to manage the price line. We also got to manage that the farmers are able to get a reasonable price. And today's market condition, if you look at pick up any crop, I'm saying that pick up any crop, everything is about the more or less about the MSP level that are there. So farmers are getting the good amount of realization. Yeah. At the same time, it is adding to the inflationary pressure. We're almost talking about 15%. I think the numbers are coming today. They're talking about 15% inflation at this point in time. So the point is that yes, you will have this kind of a situation wherein we need to maintain the inflationary pressure and at the same time also provide for giving a better realization to the farmers. Eventually, the markets will determine what is the right price, and that's where the whole thing boils down to. So opportunities like what we got today, or what we've been getting because of the in the wheat scenario, I think the entire farming community is extremely happy because all the wheat farmers are extremely happy. They're getting a fantastic realization, and not only wheat. In fact, any crop you pick up, any crop I'm saying, pick up any crop. I mean, as small as say isabgol or psyllium husk, right? So you're seeing prices doubled. So that's where the realization of the farmer is going. So there is only so much of an interplay that the government can come in and say or cap, because ultimately if the production is short, there is no way the production can be increased. This is a crop. So that's why you have buffer stocks in strategic for coarse grains only, not for all the crop, which are very important, wheat and paddy largely. So you can only have so much of an interplay. For example, in potato and onion, what do you do? when the prices shoot up to 150 rupees a kg or 150 rupees a kg, I mean, there's nothing the government can do because there is no supply. Max what you can do is import them. That's where you can go into. So from that perspective, I think yes, it's a very difficult task to balance the two, but that's the way it is, and that's the way we have been seeing it today.
Thank you, Mr. Mantha, for joining us. For more such interviews and videos, log on to thefederal.com.